When I talk about black greats in sports, music, and film, it's the short sightedness of everybody so quick to run to the next, so quick to just move on. And I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. I was watching a recent episode of First Take, and Mad Dog Russo was talking about running backs, and they were talking about Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. And he said, "Well, Barkley ain't even as good as Derrick Henry, and neither one of them are cracking the top of the elite." And I think Kimberly was on there with Jeff Saturday, and they were saying, with all due respect to Mad Dog, I wish they would do that to black commentators and say, in all due respect, people who know to speak on it. Problem is, you don't have black commentators in different fields that are allowed to say that without being called old school or you Gramps or you Unc or you Godfather or you this, as opposed to saying, uh, I need to go and study that. You know, the thing about it is this an era that grew up with technology but doesn't really fundamentally use it to go back. Back in the day, we had library cards and we had, any form of video. We couldn't wait. Most of us wanted to see what happened before. We wanted to act like we were hip and understanding. You got the technology at your fingertips, and you got a lot of dodo bird. These turkeys don't want to know nothing that happened last week, let alone 20, 30 years ago. So it's hard to have conversation. It's hard to put that into context when it's so short sighted. It's just not being, it's like, and you got the information right there before you. So someone tells you about a great musician, great singer, people doing this. What I watch, sometimes I watch R&B podcasts with Tank and Jay Valentine, which I like, but I cringe when I see some artists on there when they only talk about acts of the day or they mention this and they don't go back. You never see that with white counterpart with acts. They're not going to sit there and downplay the lineage and the heritage of acts. You just usually don't see that. And that's a fact. I cringe when you don't go and acknowledge and pay homage. Because it's not just paying homage and knowledge, it's also who paved the way. Same thing with the film industry. As they gotta acknowledge Denzel Washington. They can't help it because Hollywood on goes at one at a time. Now comedy they can go all over. But even with comedy, some of them don't want to acknowledge the greatness of what Richard Pryor was, and I'm gonna do a video about some going along those lines. But this is the thing. It hits completely different with how you base things, how you see things, how you reflect things. It's a different totality. And so I think the lack of respect, the lack of honing in on it, the lack of paying homage to it is very insulting. That's why you can never get nowhere, because if you don't know where you've been, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And you sure as heck ain't going to get to the future with it. Now, when I see that in music, I'm like, yeah. And see, the downsizing with hip hop and everything has watered R&B down, that people don't even acknowledge the forefathers and people, unless of course you have tribute shows and everybody comes out the woodwork. I see some of these old tired rappers watching Kool and the Gang in the audience when they showed real musicianship, real performance, real talent on the stage. Whereas you get to push buttons and sample and you get a lucrative buy-in, and then you get to ride over it, and then people think they don't get the credits right. You don't do that to the Rolling Stones or the Beatles. So why would you do it to Kool and the Gang or Earth, Wind and Fire, the Ozzy Brothers, or Apartment Funkadelic, or the higher players? Why would you do that? Or Sly and the Family Stone? Because you have to either be a historian. And see, that's the thing. Well, like in baseball, I still cringe when I remember when Frank Thomas said he didn't remember about what Jackie Robinson went through and what have you. Like, you ain't that far removed. Or to not even know what Kurt Floyd went through or Dick Allen went through and stuff like that. Gotta understand where you've been to know where you going. And a lot of it has been because of the dump down, the whitewash, and how it's been downplayed. So I see with a lot of people from the community, because it's like look the other way, and you hear people. I remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was trying to teach Andrew Bynum how to do the hook shot and all that, and even Shaq, he says, "I don't want to do that old man move, all that." Well, that move for the longest time was the leading scorer of the NBA. You gotta understand where you've been, and I like it when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said when LeBron was putting his Mount Rushmore, he said, "Well, you need to acknowledge Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, and these guys, Oscar Robinson." And it's true. So when people always got these lists and about all that, they don't pay homage and they don't do due diligence and they don't do it and that's why you got lame jokes like Stephen A. Smith and these others on these shows who don't pay full homage. And it shows. Or they use a political agenda or something to whitewash. And it's in all the forms, black entertainment and so on and so forth, because I see it all the time. The arts, it's really shown. So anyway, tell me what you think, though. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Share it if you like, and hit that membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out. Peace.